All right, hey class. So apparently anytime there's technology required, apparently I need to do a tutorial because I don't know why. Anyway, this is the link that is in your assignment today. I'm going to chalk it up to the fact that spring break happened last week and your brains are mush. But when you see this page, there are several different buttons in which you need to click on different things. There is a sample titration here, and then once we get all that information, there's going to be an indicator you need to select, and then a graph will show up over here in this fun little right-hand side as you do the titration. You're going to need to have 4 screenshots. One will be when you have a strong acid with a strong base. The other will be a weak acid with a strong base, a strong acid with a weak base, and then both of them being weak. So again, the 4 different, what's the word? 4 different types of titrations that you could see. If you have 2 strong, what's that titration curve going to look like? If you have a weak with a strong, depending on if it's an acid or base, what's that going to look like? And then what's it going to look like when you have 2 weak things happening in the titrations? For all of these, just to make some consistency and make it easier for everybody, let's just make everything a 1 molar solution, and let's do 25 milliliters there for our initial volume of our titrant. That's just going to keep us all kind of on the same page and make sure that we have enough of our solutions that we need. Go ahead and kick your burette volume up to 50. That way you can make sure you have enough of your acid or base in the burette so that you don't run out. I would suggest keeping the speed around 5. You may want to go down to 4. That's just totally up to you. If you kick it up really high, you're going to overshoot it pretty quickly. If you want to do that the first go around just to see what it looks like, remember we talked about that being kind of just that crash titration just to see what's going on there. That's perfectly fine. But you're looking at really half 0.05 milliliters for every drop. So a stream of 5 isn't going to be too quickly on that. Just so you can see what one looks like, I'll do the strong acid, strong base scenario. When it comes to selecting your indicators, this is where you're going to have to go back to your textbook. There's a list of all the different indicators. For our case, if we have a strong acid with a strong base, where do you think your pH is going to be when it comes to neutralization? When is that strong acid going to be neutralized by that strong base? Well, that's around a 7. You got to go back and think of things that we looked at before spring break. I know that's hard. So if we're looking at that, the pH here, we are starting with a basic solution and going to hopefully 7 or 8. Phenolphthalein really will work in there, but there are others that'll work too in that 7. Some of those we don't have as options, so you kind of have to look at what's going to be the best option to get me a color change when we're getting really close to that equivalence point. And phenolphthalein really actually does work pretty good for strong acids, strong bases, because it starts really to change colors closer to that 7-8 range. You don't want to go past the 7 because that's going to overshoot. You'll be past neutralization. But something in this scenario would work well if you're starting basic and going to 7 or going to acidic. If you're going the opposite direction, then of course you're going to have to look at those as well. But again, those are in your book, so you can go back and figure out which would be your best indicator that you want to choose. So again, we have the acid up here in our burette, and we have our potassium hydroxide down here in our beaker. And when you hit the start titration, it's going to start your titration. I'm going to slow it down just a little bit because I like to be crazy like that. And so you're just seeing those drops. Initially, it will be that nice little line and again, I'm going to slow it down even more. You're going to see just that slope line as it continues to very slowly change this pH. This is another place you could be looking to see about your speed, because again, if you know you've got strong and strong, where are we trying to get to? We're trying to get to about 7. So we can go ahead and speed that up, looking at our pHs, knowing that we're got to get close to 7 before we're going to see a curve. You'll see it start to begin curving as we get closer and closer to that neutralization point. Again, I'm going to speed it up even further. Now you see that you're starting to see that curve where we are getting close to equivalence. And look there, now we have seen that we have overshot at this point, and that's fine. It both turned clear when we reached that equivalence. I'm going to stop the titration here. We started off with a really high pH because that was our base, and we ended up with a really low pH because that is when we have overshot and we're at that acidic range. This is just showing you that volume, but when we look at this curve, the midpoint of that is right there around 7. So this is what I want you to screenshot. I want you to show me that you have done the titration, you've got some indicator in there, what you were titrating. I don't care about the numbers or any of that. I just want to see, number one, that you did these and that you're looking at it and seeing what those titrations look like, so that when we do a titration lab on Friday, you're not sitting there going, I don't know what I'm doing. This just gives you an indication based on what you're seeing coming out of the burette and into the beaker of what you're going to see in a true titration when we do those in lab. So again, what am I looking for tomorrow for you to bring in? I need 4 pieces of paper. They're going to be basically this screenshot here. You should show me 4 different scenarios where you have strong acid, strong base. So yes, this is kind of like screenshot number 1. Then you would have, in this case, a weak acid with a strong base. Then you would change that up to a strong acid with a weak base. So you have a few there to choose from. And then weak to weak. If you want to switch those up and start with a base and go to an acid, feel free to do that. That just gives you some additional illustrations of what you're going to see in a titration. But again, this is what I'm looking for, this nice little screenshot right here of when you have completed the titration, so that we can see what those curves are going to look like, and it just gives you a chance to get that done. So hopefully this helps. I am using Internet Explorer. I've done it in Edge. I've done it in Chrome. Not sure if you're using a MacBook, what's going on, if there's an issue with that. So if there's some technology stuff going on, I'd suggest go find a friend and you know, see what's going on. Typically, I should see some different numbers here for everybody, because no one's going to just do it precisely exact. So if I see everyone has the exact same thing, that's going to make me have my little radar up of, hey, did you really do this, or did you just say, hey, can you print me off 4 copies so that me and 3 other people can do this and not have to deal with it. So do it yourself. Be honest. Be truthful. Hope everybody had a great spring break. Again, there's your link for it. I'll see y'all tomorrow, and good luck with it. Thanks so much.